Now we're going to really break down how the stack works with the help of this nice analogy that was created by a former TA. So according to this former TA, the stack is a portion of program memory that remembers stuff. And this is technically true, but all of the program memory remembers things, not just the stack portion, and specifically the stack portion remembers local variables. So the analogy we're going to use is that the stack is kind of similar to human short-term memory. So if I ask you what you had for dinner tonight, you'll probably remember. But if I ask you what you had for dinner 5 years and like 3 days ago, you probably don't know that. And so now how are these things similar? Let's just go through an example. So the example is going to be we have this set of instructions, and one of the steps is going to be something like put together parts 34 and 27. So I'm going to look at these instructions. I'm going to remember some relevant information in my head, and then I'm going to move over to the pile of stuff. And then I'm going to do something with those things using the information in my head, which is that I remember that the parts I want are 34 and 27. And then once I'm done, I'm going to go back to the instructions and see what's next. So what does this actually look like in my head? So before I even start, I have this set of instructions and it has the step 4 right there. And also this instruction somewhere is some definition of put together. So something like hold a part in your hand, hold a part in your other hand, and then just smash them together. Something like that. And in my head, I've probably thought about something else, or I'm probably currently thinking about something before I even start. In this example, my previous thought is that I like pancakes. Why not? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the instructions, and step 4 tells me to put together parts 34 and 27. So I'm going to remember those, and how do I remember that? I put them in my memory. And so notice that the extent of my thought is now a bit further down because I've remembered a couple more things. And the next thing I want to do is remember where I was in the instructions, because very shortly I'm about to turn my attention to the parts to put together. So I might forget where I am in the instructions. So I don't want to forget where I am. So I'm going to make a mental note to myself that after I'm done putting the parts together, when I come back to the instructions, the next step I want to do is going to be step 5. And notice that because I'm remembering another thing, the extent of my thought is now a little bit more. I have to remember a bit more. The next thing I want to do is remember what I was thinking. So at this point, the thought about pancakes is already getting pretty far away and drifting away because it's so far back. So to refresh my memory, I'm going to make a mental note to myself that the last thing I was thinking about was pancakes. I'm not going to say specifically what about the pancakes. I don't have to say if I like it or I hate it or what. But I do want to just make a note to myself that the last thing I was thinking about was something about pancakes. And that also requires the extent of my thought to move down just a little bit. And now that everything is ready, I can now turn to the parts and I can look at the instructions for put together. So the instructions for put together say I need to hold something in my left hand and I need to hold something in my right hand. So I make a note to myself that my left hand needs to hold something and my right hand needs to hold something. And what are those things? I kind of like scan my memory, look back a little bit. I realize those things are the parts, and the parts are 27 and 34. So I remember the right numbers. I put the parts together, and then once I'm done, I will remember that the next thing I want to do is step 5 because that's in my head. I will also remember that the last thing I was thinking about was pancakes because that is also in my head.